Hey guys, what is up? FSX Flying Academy here, back with another video for you guys in the Cessna 172 SP. Today's subject will be the traffic pattern, but how it is done in flight and how to take off. So we're here at Fernando Luis Dominici, but many people call it Isla Grande because it's located in a part of Puerto Rico where it's called Isla Grande. So the trim, do you see this line right here? We gotta set it to this arrow. That means the trim is set for takeoff. Make sure the mixture is rich. Sorry for any background noise if you can hear it. Make sure all the lights are on. Make sure the flaps are up in case if not, you're not gonna climb at the required speed and you might stall. You don't want that. You will technically request clearance for takeoff to the tower, but I'm not going to be using ATC this episode, so I'm not going to request clearance for takeoff. I'm just going to go ahead and take off. Okay, first thing, we got to go ahead and put the throttle up a little bit, a little bit. Try to keep the airplane in the center line. Sorry about that, it's just that my other hand was in the volume control. But keep it in the center line when you're taking off. When you reach 670 knots, which is right there, pull back gently and look at that takeoff right there. That was a beautiful takeoff. Just excellent. You always want to keep the nose of the airplane between the second and third line in your climbs in this airplane, and make sure you're climbing at 80 knots. Because that's usually what you would want to have, the speed you would want to have in a climb. As I said in the previous video, a traffic pattern you would want to fly at an altitude of 1,000 feet. When we get to 500 feet, that's when we can start making our either right or left turn. In this case, we're in the east, so we were on the upwind leg. Now we're going to turn to the crosswind leg. For this airport, the crosswind leg will be at about heading 360, which will be towards the N, which is the north. And we are at 900 feet, so we will level out a little bit. Keep climbing a little till it gets to 1,000, but okay, so we're still in the crosswind leg. Sorry for any background noise, it's just my little sisters. I hope it doesn't bother you guys. Okay, so we keep a straight and level flight. I'll explain straight and level flight in a previous video because right now I'm a little bit too occupied with the airplane right now. Okay, so we look outside. When I get to the coast, that is only for this airport. Then we start going on the downwind leg, which as I said, it's along the runway. It's the leg that takes you along the runway. In this case, the downwind leg will be the west, towards the west. So I'm going to turn to the west here. Okay, we're almost there. We're at 1,100 feet, which is still a decent pattern altitude. You can fly a pattern at 1,100 or 1,000 feet, whichever one is of your choice. I choose usually 1,100 because I got a little bit more separation from the ground. That way we won't be too low or too high, if you know what I mean. lower the power a little bit. If we look towards the side, we took off on this end of the runway and we're going to the complete opposite. That's when you know you're on downwind leg of the pattern. Let me fix up my view. There it goes. Yeah, here. I always like to use this view because you can see the instruments more clearly. For this airport, I use this landmark, this piece of landmark right here, because it gives you enough separation from the airport and you. That way you have room to maneuver around and line up on the runway with a lot of more time. More time to line up and maneuver and approach the runway. Once passing this, which I currently am, we're going to begin our base leg. We're going to turn to base, which is, for this airport, is facing towards the south. So I'm going to turn to the south. Turn here. Beautiful. As you can see, we maintained our altitude, which is pretty good. That's how you want to make turns. Try to maintain your altitude. Obviously, it's gonna rise at like 20 feet or 10 feet or 5 feet. It's normal. But try to make it not be too much. For an example, we only climbed like 10 feet in that climb. We're still at 1,100. At this point, when I see this river, I know I gotta start descending. I'm gonna lower my power. Also, you want to lower your flaps when you get to this white line. When you get to that white line in the airspeed indicator, that is when you can lower the flaps. So to lower the flaps, I gotta reduce my thrust and make sure that the airspeed indicator, my speed reaches that line. Do you see those lights up ahead? Those are called the poppy lights. What they do is indicate if you're too high or too low when you're going to go on landing. If there's two red and two white, that means you are at the altitude you want. If they're all white, that means you're too high and you got to descend. If all of the lights are red, that means you are too low. At this point, the poppy lights say you're a little bit too high, but it is normal because oh, stop rambling. Because at this distance from the runway, it is normal for you to be high, because when you get to a point of landing, you're gonna be too low and you don't want that. So you gotta stay a little bit high on approach. I gotta put my flaps down almost to the white line. Lower my flaps. You want to keep your approach speed at 80 knots or 70, whichever one is more comfortable for you. I like to fly the approach at 80 knots. But for landing, you gotta have 65 or 60 knots for landing. Right now, I'm at 65 knots and I am keeping the airspeed there. I'm lined up with the runway. I'm gonna land right in the center line, which is where you always want to land. At this point, the poppy lights become inaccurate, so you gotta figure out if you're too high or too low visually. The wind pushed us a little bit off course. And there goes the landing. I don't know why does it lower the Like, why does it go like that? I have no idea.